let's work with part 2 of the brush tutorial that's available in written format on my website. Part 2 is going to be on loading brushes, creating brushes, saving brushes, and so you'll see here in my tutorial that I've mentioned that you do not want to put these brush files in the preset folder unless they're ones you really use a lot, because they will bog down your file when the program tries to open. It will take a long time to open. Brush files have a .abr file extension, and let's say you've gone, I know this happened to me, on a download frenzy, and you don't know what you have and don't have. You're going to be able to recognize those files because they end in .abr, and you can round them all up and put them in a folder for brushes and know that they are organized together. Of course, hopefully you have saved the terms of use files and know where you've downloaded each of them in case you need to give credit. Here in my tutorial it talks about the ABR viewer from SourceForge, which is an open software. Because you don't have them loaded into Photoshop Elements permanently, you're going to need some sort of software to view what's inside those ABR files so that you can choose one to temporarily load. Now, when I did this written tutorial, the ABR viewer was the only software that I was aware of that you could view the brush files. Since then, ACDC and TumaSoft have also come out with software, and I will be doing a separate video for each of those programs so that you can see what they have to offer. Let's go to Photoshop Elements and load a brush. And so I'm going to activate my brush tool. I'm going to do the hit the drop down menu and then the flyout menu, and I'm going to choose load brushes. Now it's going to come up with where your preset file is, and all except for this one called Hummy. These are all the default brushes that come with Photoshop Elements, and that's why we really don't want to play with this file too much, because we would be messing up those default brushes. And I'm going to navigate in my folder to where I have my other brushes, and I have some Action FX brushes here, and I have one called Stitches, and you can choose it and select load, or you could just double click on it and it opens them up. And now I can pick one of these, create a new layer, and begin using it. I can choose a different one. And so that's how simple it is. Once you choose your brush with some kind of viewer, you can simply then navigate to it and load it. Another way to load the brushes, if you'll see here that this Stitches library is at the end or at the bottom that I loaded when I loaded it in this fashion. Each of these categories for brushes is actually called a library. And so you can have many brushes under one library. You can look at each of these as their separate .abr file, and within that .abr file are the individual brushes. And so you can have one brush in the library, or you can have many brushes in the library. I'm going to go to the default brushes, and you can also use the preset manager and choose load. And when after I click the done button, you're going to be able to see those at the bottom of the default library. Now if you want to get rid of everything you've temporarily loaded there, you're just going to hit reset brushes and they're all going to go away. Now we're going to look at creating our own brushes. I have here a flower that I've brought into my program, and then I extracted that flower from that photo, and we're going to make a brush with this photo. Now I'm going to briefly show you a way that you can get creative. Whatever you make a selection of is what you're going to create your brush with. And so if you use the Magic Wand selection tool, for instance, and I click on here, I'm going to get a very interesting selection. And if I created a brush with this, it might make a good texture or good grunge around the edges, or you can just use your imagination and get really creative with using the four selection tools that you have here. However, for the purpose of this tutorial, I'm going to hold down my control key and click here on the thumbnail of the layers palette to get marching ants around my flower. Then I'm going to simply go to the edit drop down menu, define brush from selection, and I'm going to call this Black Eyed Susan, and I'm going to click OK. Control D to deselect, and I'm going to go ahead and go to my new blank layer here so that we can play. And when I activate my brush tool, I can find this brush now down here at the bottom of my default brushes. Now if I was in a different library when I created this brush, that brush is going to be at the bottom of whatever library it was where I created that. Let's hit save brush. That's not going to work. My brush has disappeared. Let's create it again. As we said, this is a temporary, and so you're going to have to work on getting those brushes saved right away. And so let's see, make sure I'm on the correct layer, and I'm going to just leave it named as sample brush for this instance. And now I'm going to, on my new layer, click, and you can see I can stamp my flower. Now you'll notice it's nothing like the original flower, and that's because remember, brushes work with whatever your foreground color is. And so even if I would change this to a yellow and begin stamping with it, it's still not going to ever look like my original exactly. And so remember that when you're using brushes. I'm going to delete this and put a new layer there for us to play with. Now for the hard part and the confusing part of the tutorial, oh, here's a step I forgot to mention. When you make a brush, it cannot be any larger than 2500 by 2500 pixels, or it just won't allow it to be created. That size is very similar, a little slightly larger than an 8 by 8 paper, and so that can kind of give you an idea. So if you're working in 12 by 12 and you try to make a brush out of something that is big as a 12 by 12 paper, it's not going to work. And so that kind of gives you an idea. And now we're going to work on saving these custom brushes. As you saw, I already lost one and had to recreate it. Here is the path in this tutorial: Program Files, Adobe, Photoshop Elements, and it's going to have your version. Of course, mine would say 6 instead of 3. Presets, and then brushes, and that's where your library of brushes are going to be, and I've actually created a shortcut for that here on my desktop. I'm going to suggest that you take advantage of this free download that I have for you of an ABR file. and it's called Hummy Template. And what you would do is copy that so that you can continue using this original one, and then possibly rename it whatever kind of collection you want with your name, and then maybe flowers, because we're working with flowers. And then you would take this and drop it into your preset folder. Now it needs to be dropped in there before you open the program, and so we're not going to be able to see that one I just put in there, but you can see the one I put in there called Hummy. And now here's something to note. When I was changing libraries, because I added that flower to my default library, it's wanting me to save the changes I made to that default library. This is one reason why I recommend dropping this template with your name, change to your name, into the preset folder, because we really don't want to mess with those libraries that came with Photoshop Elements. And so if you ever create one inside of one of those folders, and you go to move from one to another, you're going to want to say no. Okay, you can see here, oh, I've been playing. My original file has a square brush in here, and it's no longer in here because I've been playing, but when you open it up, there's going to be a square brush here. And so what I would recommend doing is having your own library, and then when I go to create this brush, let me get on the right layer, and I'm just going to leave it the default name for now. And then I'm going to go into here, and you're going to see it shows up in my own library. And then if you have that little square over here, as I had when with the template, you can right click on it and delete it and say yes. Now let's go make another one of these flowers, just for the purpose of this tutorial, and it's going to be Sample Brush 2 because that's the default name that comes up. And when I go into my Hummy library, now I have two of them again. Now it's not going to be permanently saved in here until I go to the flyout menu and choose Save Brush, and it's going to actually create another brush. That's where this gets really confusing. It's now this one here is not in there permanently. This one in here isn't in here permanently, and so it can be very confusing. What I would recommend doing instead of that is to go and choose Save Brushes, and I'm going to navigate to my preset folder. I have that shortcut here. I'm going to choose this Hummy file and choose Save, and it's going to ask me if I want to save over it, and I'm going to say yes. That's why we have that library with my name in the preset folder, so that I am not playing around, because this is very confusing, so I'm not playing around and accidentally messing up with some of the other libraries that are there. And now this is permanently saved with these three in there, just like that. It does get very confusing between Save Brush and Save Brushes, and Save Brush is going to save the brush that is currently your cursor. Okay, so if I would grab one of these brushes, and it's going to be currently my cursor, and let's say I play with it and I make it a little different. there it goes, it's stamping. I was wondering why it wasn't stamping. Then I can go into my Hummy library, and that brush that I've changed is currently my cursor, and I can do a save brush, and it's going to put it in this library. And so that's what the save brush does. And so you don't want to be playing with those others. I keep repeating myself, but you really don't want to mess up those brushes that come with Photoshop Elements. Another way to save these brushes is to use the preset manager. And so I can open up this preset manager, and you can see I have the same 4 brushes that I had in here before. But you can see here where it says Save Set and Rename. These are grayed out. And what the program wants you to do is to, you can hold down your Shift key and select all the brushes that you would like to save as a .abr file. And once you, let's say I don't want this one in there, and so I don't know how to, there we go. Let's say I only want these 3. And so you choose just the ones you want, and you can choose Save Set. And now if I wanted to, I can save them all as my in my preset folder under Hummy, or I can navigate to someplace else on my folder on my hard drive in a brush folder, and which is recommended because we don't really want to save too much in this preset folder, and click Save. Since I'm saving over this template one that we're playing with, it wanted me to replace it, and then I can click Done. Now when I go back in here, well, it's only gonna be it's only gonna have permanently saved it without this one here. It's going to show up like that next time I open my program. See, it is very confusing when you're using brushes, and so I would really recommend just putting some basic ones in there with your name if you're going to be working with saving your own brushes a lot, and only play with saving brushes while you have those open. And let's see, have I forgotten anything going through my tutorial? And it is really confusing, and here you can see that it comes up with that default square brush, and it shows you how to save a set, delete a brush, shows you the difference between save brush and save brushes, and really the only way to really learn how to save your brushes and to save them as sets is just to get in there and play around. And I think we've covered everything in that tutorial, and so that's basically how you're going to do it. If I wanted to, I could let me see, I'm thinking of one more thing that I might need to cover. If you create a new brush in here and you just want to save that one brush safely, you can choose that brush and then choose Save Brush. No, I'm sorry. And then choose the preset manager and pick just that one brush and choose Save Set and put it somewhere. Here's my desktop, and I might name it Flower, and then hit Save, and it's going to be an ABR file with just one brush in it, but it's going to be saved so you don't lose it. Sometimes you might go through great lengths to create a brush, and so you could quickly just do that to save it and not lose it. But if you're going to be making a set of brushes, and I actually just named that one Untitled. I hope this is making sense. I can go and load that one I just named Untitled, and actually I want to load it through the preset manager. See how confusing this is? You have to really work with these in order to learn how to use it, and I don't work with them enough myself, and I'm confusing myself. And so now I've loaded it under here. You can see the fourth one showed up again. It was that one called Untitled, and you can load up all those individual ones that you saved quickly, and once they're loaded, then you can use the preset manager to make a little collection of them by holding down the shift key and then saving as a set somewhere else on your computer. And so if you have gone out and you've made a bunch of individual brushes, that's how you would make a collection with them. You would bring them all in, and you would load them temporarily, and then you would go through this preset manager to select them all and save them as a set to put them all in one ABR file. So I hope that little tip helps too. And if you have any questions, just ask in the forums, and I will do my best to try to answer your questions. And I just suggest you get out there and play with it, because this is the only way you're going to learn about saving brushes, because it can really be confusing. And I wish you a very happy day, and I never know how to end these video tutorials, so goodbye.